Hello, welcome to the Management Channel once again. And in the Team Dynamics section, we're going to talk about team leadership. Our objectives here that we want to accomplish is we want to examine the different leadership styles used for teams. Take a look at the approaches to team leadership and the factors that influence who becomes a team's leader. And we're going to look at the benefits and problems with self-managing teams. So the definition of leadership is a process in which an individual influences the progress of a group toward the attainment of a goal. Good bosses make smart decisions and get important things done, but the great ones do so much more. There's a difference between leadership, or being a leader, and being a manager. Leaders lead people. Managers manage tasks. Leaders emphasize vision and encourage others to help make it a reality, but managers focus on creating plans and making the plan work. Leaders focus on people. Managers focus on tasks, systems, procedures, and the numbers, the productivity numbers. Leaders facilitate change. Managers just create order. Leadership traits that people are looking for in a leader is honest and integrity, tenacity or persistence, high energy, enthusiastic and passionate, and of course they need to have self-confidence. Why do people do what you ask them to do? Well, number one, rewards. Any benefits that you can provide, a pay increase, a better job position, etc. Punishment. They avoid the consequences, and we don't mean nothing like negative, but there has to be a deterrent, right? Your position, of course. What you stand for. Do you agree with your goals or your vision? Do you believe in what you're professing to them? Who you are. If you're a good person and fair, they appreciate and respect you, and they trust you. And it should be all about your expertise, your skills, and your established knowledge. That's what they're looking for. There are different types of leaders. There are leaderless groups, one where it's elected by the team or one where the decision is made by the group. And then there's one who's assigned by the organization. The company determines who is going to lead that group. And then there's the self-managing team. This is where the team shares or rotates leadership functions. Leader power, there are two basic types. One, if assigned by the organization, you have the authority to make team decisions or may facilitate and let the team make decisions, having the final decision. If elected or rotation method, they have limited power and guides the team or facilitates team decisions in the group process. How can you improve your influence or establish your power? Determine the authority you have over people that you want to influence. Find out who else has authority over the people you want to influence. And that could be the informal leader within the group. Determine how and why the project's successful completion can benefit the organization, and then share that. And get to know people you want to influence. Understand, appreciate, and acknowledge their talents and their strengths. Let people you want to influence get to know your good side. Don't condemn or complain, but give positive feedback when necessary. Become proficient in the task you have to perform. Be the expert. Now, in some teams, there's what's called leader emergence. If there's not a clear leader assigned, one usually emerges from the ranks of the group to take charge. Even though they may not be an effective leader, someone feels like they should be, and they will stand up and take charge. They're generally taller and older than most of the team. It's almost always a man. Women, for some reason, still do not tend to take charge. They're usually easy to spot as they have a strong participation rate, what we call the Babel effect. The group generally tends to select the one who communicates the most, assuming that they're probably the most confident and knowledgeable. So there are different approaches to leadership. Take a moment and look at these. There's the trait of personality, behavioral, situational, and contingency. And we're going to go over this in a moment. There's the trait or personality approach. Good leaders have certain similar characteristics and traits. That is, they're confident, they're motivators. Leaders are good in one situation, but you know what? They may not be good in other situations. What traits do we feel good leaders should possess? What kind of motivation is the proper motivation? Leaders should be flexible, but how flexible? The behavioral approach suggests there are certain behaviors all successful leaders should display. They should be able to have good decision-making skills and style. They should be task-motivated rather than a social focus. They should be a little bit more authoritarian rather than democratic. Sometimes they're influenced by leader-member exchange. If you are on the in-group, more verbal, agreeable, personable, etc. And if you are on the out-group, you have less communication, less trust, and you're viewed as a non-team player. Situational approach. This style suggests a relationship between the situation and the person that determines if they're a good leader or not. The style of success depends on people. More competent and well-trained staff do not need the same leader as the brand new staff, who isn't skilled. The jobs. More intense job requires greater degrees of supervision and care than other ones do. Routine jobs do not need constant supervision, but maybe a particular skillful or intensive job does. Organizations depend upon organizational design, the culture, the policies, and how the organization wants management to lead. In a situational leadership theory, the leader should adjust their leadership relative to the readiness of the group. If they're a pretty well knowledgeable and skilled group, you kind of back off and let them make their own decisions. But if they're brand new, then somebody has to give direction. So, in the situational leadership style, you may start off being directing, you might turn to be coaching, and after they become more skilled, then you're supporting, and now you're just delegating. So it depends on the group readiness level, as you can see from this chart. The contingency approach. This one focuses on some characteristic or characteristics of a situation. Therefore, it depends on the task, the level of the structure, or the favorableness of the situation for the leader. The leader is appropriate if fitting the situation. For example, autocratic leaders work best in the military, or situations where power and authority is needed. Multiple linkage model states successful performance of the team depends on the member effort and ability, the organization of the task, the teamwork and cooperativeness, and the availability of resources and their external coordination. Thus, is a leader able to adapt to the situation and conditions surrounding the particular task? The functional approach to leading teams. Problem-solving approach to dealing with the problems that teams face requires 3 core leadership functions: setting the direction for the team, managing the team's operations, and then developing the team's leadership abilities. Focus of a team leader depends on the situation and the maturity of the team. You want to provide a supportive context for teams. Supportive context means a direction, facilitate some kind of group structure, and manage the external relations for the team. You want to facilitate internal operations, identify issues teams need to manage, be motivational and inspiring your work towards the goal. Emotional, manage team stress, promote good mood, and a coordination, identify their roles and match their ability to the role. Team coaching, improve coordination and performance by providing guidance to the team. Motivational, that means by minimizing social loafing, increase the team commitment of every member. Be consultative, improve performance and coordination. And educational, build their knowledge, skills, and abilities. Self-managing teams usually have an external leader who is coaching, supportive, and motivational. But the success of the self-managing team itself is used in production or service situations better suited than professional teams. There should be cross-training, clear performance measures, strong team cohesion, and less competitive within inside themselves, but emphasis more on social relations. So eventually in a self-managing team, you want to develop a leadership team. Well, what is that? It's a small group of people who need to work interdependently to produce something. Leadership teams are made up of people who are responsible for their own units within an organization. Success depends on how clear the organization is on what the team should accomplish. You have to be able to answer, what is the purpose of this team? After the team is assembled, it's best to ask the members themselves, how can we be successful? What can we do to improve? And at the end, what went well and what could be done better? Here's a video for you.
Effective teamwork requires a positive, constructive it the same old way. And this can lead to real problems in the way teams operate. So before a team is formed, it is vital to define the way everyone will work together. This is called writing the team's constitution. It establishes the team's operating principles, policies, and ground rules. Now, there are two methods for developing this constitution. The first
Effective
Sometimes
teamwork
getting the
requires
members
a
work
positive,
together
constructive
is a little
approach
difficult,
from
as you
every
see.
member of the team. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. And then there is chaos.
What I'd like to do is set up a structure for the team so that we'll all know how this project is going to operate. I'd like to
Is
begin
this really necessary? Why don't we all just start working on our own and see how it comes together later? This is just too much procedure for me.
I don't want to get bogged down in procedure either, but we need some structure or we'll be going around in circles.
Well, you can do it any way you want to, but I've got no patience for all this stuff. I've done it my own way for a long time and it's worked just fine. I don't see why that has to change.
Right there, you can see the problem that many organizations face. An unwillingness to change, a desire to keep doing it the same old way. And this can lead to real problems in the way teams operate. So before a team is formed, it is vital to define the way everyone will work together. This is called writing the team's constitution. It establishes the team's operating principles, policies, and ground rules. Now, there are two methods for developing this constitution. The first is called Future Forward, the Team Victory Party. This means you imagine the future success of the team and then work backward from there. You determine what it will take to achieve this perceived success. Now, for example, let's say the success is the development of an innovative computer program for a client. You imagine you've already achieved that goal. In doing so, you ask yourself a series of questions. What were our meetings like? How were they conducted? How did we reach high-quality decisions? Who was involved and when? How were crises and problems handled? What role did the team leader play? By answering these questions, you'll be guided in how your team should function and how to write its constitution.
So, team building for leader teams is difficult. Usually, leaders are busy people with little time to spare. It's difficult to break the patterns of behavior. Each one is used to directing others, but not as a member of a team. And executives are used to making individual decisions and generally don't work with collective judgments. They tend to look at the big picture rather than focus on specific goals and take time to discuss options within a group. Individual egos sometimes get in the way of team conformance. Helping leadership teams function. Well, for a leadership team to be effective, they need to develop the 7 key components for excellence. They need to have clear goals and a sense of direction. We need to be able to identify all the talent, who can do what, have clear roles and responsibilities for each member, have agreed upon procedures, have some constructive and not negative interpersonal relations, have active reinforcement of team-oriented behavior, and have diplomatic external ties. Things to keep in mind are, number 1, what is the purpose of the team? What are the expected results? When are those results expected to be due? Who's responsible for doing what? Who will be responsible for the team leadership? Leaders cannot isolate themselves. They must remember that while they are credible leaders, they also must be credible team members or followers. And bear in mind you have a supervisor's counseling role. It's an effort by the supervisor to deal with the on-the-job performance problems that are the result of an employee's personal problems, and that's going to come up within your team. A counseling interview is a non-directive interview during which the supervisor listens empathetically and encourages the employee to discuss problems openly and to develop solutions. And that should be done within the team process. So here we have a chart. I'll let you look at this for a couple of moments and gaze through it. Feel free to pause to study it further. That's it for this team leadership chapter. We hope that you'll take a look at the next chapter, motivation. Remember, teams are made up of individuals who might need motivation. Thank you for watching.